Hi everyone, this is Denise with Liquid Color, and today I have another product review for you. I received this little sampler in an order when I placed an order with Jerry's Artarama. I was ordering some brushes and some Daniel Smith watercolors that I needed replacements for, and this came in my box. I didn't ask for the sample, and I don't think there's a way that you can order it, but it was just a nice little surprise when I got my package. I've heard about these watercolors before, and I've seen them in other videos, but it was nice to see them in person so that I could play with them a little bit and also let you guys know about them. So it came with 6 colors, and I'm going to be swatching them out with whatever the closest comparison I have for them. So I just want to reiterate that this is not a direct comparison with my Daniel Smith colors, but I did pull whatever colors I had closest so that you could go ahead and take a look at them. So I'm going to be swatching out the Burnt Sienna first. They call this Burnt Sienna Natural. I'm not sure what the difference is between Burnt Sienna and Burnt Sienna Natural. But one observation that I did make is on the back of this set, it did have a warning label like you would find on maybe the nickel paints or chromiums or cobalts. And I was a little bit confused because I've never seen that warning label on a Burnt Sienna before. I did contact the company about this, and they mentioned that it was a naturally harvested pigment that contained quartz. And in the state of California, they're required to put that it contained a potentially toxic ingredient. So that's what that was about. I'm swatching it out here next to my Daniel Smith Burnt Sienna so that you can see the difference. They're pretty comparable. They both granulate. Next up, I'm going to be swatching out the Indian Yellow. Now, I don't have an equivalent for Indian Yellow. It's not a color that I've purchased before. It is beautiful. I really like the color here, and it's a mixture of 3 different pigments rather than a single pigment color. The only thing I have that's comparable is my Hansa Yellow Deep, which is a single pigment. So again, this isn't a super parallel comparison here, but just to kind of show you. I really like the Indian Yellow. It's beautiful and vibrant and nice and creamy, just like the Hansa Yellow Deep that I have from Daniel Smith as well. The next color that I'm going to be swatching out is the Permanent Alizarin Crimson. Just a note real quick about the light fastness radiance on these paints. Most of them are rated as 1 by the ASTM ratings, except for the Indian Yellow didn't have a rating on it, and the Alizarin Crimson had GD, which I assume means good, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen that rating before, so I assume it's a little bit less light fast than the other colors, but still hopefully comparable. I actually decided to go with my palette that I had. I have a Carmine, which was my equivalent to, or my replacement, I guess, for my Alizarin Crimson in my original palette. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch that out because I think it's a more equal comparison. The Carmine is more vibrant, but that is just how Carmine is. It's a very dominant color. Again, not a direct comparison here, but just so you can see some similarities. Next, we're going to be doing the Pyrrole Red Light. Now, I don't have an orange I can compare this to. I mix my oranges, but I do have Pyrrole Red. So even though they're different colors, they're still in the same color family. So hopefully this is a somewhat acceptable comparison. Again, I apologize that I don't have a color that's closer to it. They're both more on the opaque side, I would say, and they're a little bit flatter, and I don't mean that in a bad way. They just don't change a lot between the full strength and when you tint them out with the water. They kind of even out over that space while they dry, so that's just a note about that one. This is Cerulean Blue Chromium, which I believe is actually made with cobalt blue and chromium oxides, is what the website lists this as. I'm not sure why this didn't have a rating on it like the Burnt Sienna Natural and the Indian Yellow. The Indian Yellow has a nickel compound in it, but it wasn't listed as being toxic, so I don't know if the oxides of the toxic chemicals are not toxic themselves. If anyone has some information on that, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I don't have either of those colors in my own palette. So I'm comparing it here to a phthalo blue, although it's not a super fair comparison because you can tell they're very different shades of blue. The cerulean blue is actually closer to an ultramarine, I feel like, but I had ultramarine to compare to ultramarine, so I didn't want to do that one twice. And if I had to choose in this palette, it looks like they're providing me with the cerulean blue as the cool blue in my palette, so I compared it to another cool blue. So we have ultramarine here, and it's just the normal PB29, nothing special to mention. I'm just comparing this to another ultramarine blue, and it's pretty comparable. There's not a whole lot of differences. They both granulate, they're both nice and smooth to work with. Nothing super notable there. So lastly, I'm just going to be going through a little watercolor sketch for you to see while I give you my final thoughts. I'm going to be using the blues and the yellow and the burnt sienna for this. And I was really happy with the quality of the paper that was included in the sampler, so much so that I was wondering if it was possibly a more affordable option for arches because they include it with their samplers. I didn't expect them to include such a high quality paper. So I contacted Jerry's Artarama, which is where I got the sample from, and they didn't know. It didn't come with the information with their samples. So I eventually contacted Golden, which is QoR's parent company. They were able to tell me that I was actually on the right track. It is in fact Arches paper, so it's nice to know that they include such a high quality paper with their samples so that you can really get a feel for how they will work in a painting. This is a newer company, a new brand of watercolor. They consider themselves a modern watercolor, and they have a new binder called Aquazol that's trademarked to them and their company that isn't found in any other watercolors. I don't know how it differs from gum arabic, but I did notice that the paints were nice and smooth, that I didn't have any problems using them or re-wetting them. They re-wet really nicely on the little dot cards, so no complaints there at all. So would I buy these paints? Yes. If I didn't already have plenty of paints for many, many palettes, I would be more than happy to purchase these and use them. They are definitely high quality. They're about comparable in price to Daniel Smith paints from what I can tell. They're listed on Jerry's Artarama as being 11 milliliter tubes, which is a little bit unusual. Usually watercolors come in 5 or 7 milliliter tubes, or the larger 15 milliliter tubes. So I'm not sure if that's a typo, if that's actually what it is. If that is true, then the price is definitely comparable to your other artist grade paints. They do have some sets available. They have like an introductory 12 color set, a 6 color set, they have earth tones, they have a couple other ones as well. I definitely think that if you are in need of a palette, they definitely aren't a bad way to go. So we're finished up with our little painting section, but there was one more thing I wanted to show you about these paints and about the company that produces them that I was incredibly impressed with. I do a lot of my research for the different paints that I'd like to use online, and it's always kind of difficult being able to tell off of little rectangular or square swatches if you're really going to like a color and the way it reacts. QoR has incredibly in-depth color swatches for all 83 colors in their line. They have squares that have opacity tests over, black ink. They have value tests. They have tests for if you drop the pigment onto water or if you drop water onto the pigment. And overall, I was just incredibly impressed with this feature, and I wish that all the companies did this. Now, these pictures are directly from their website. All credit goes to them, but I did want to let you know that they have that tool available, and I think especially for beginners just starting off, and just as much as for veteran watercolorists that could use this tool for determining which pigments they want to add to their collection. If you enjoyed this product review, please give me a nice big thumbs up so that I can continue making videos for you, and let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.